Now that you have prepared the walk cycle reference images in Adobe Photoshop, you are now ready to import these into Adobe Flash. Let's get started. Start by creating a new Adobe Flash ActionScript 3.0 file. Next, let's change the stage size. We need ours to be set to 1280 by 720. We do that in the Properties panel. Also, let's change our frames per second to 30. Make sure that you're saving your file as we work through this so you don't lose anything. Next, we will create a graphic symbol to build our walk cycle in. We will embed our walk cycle animation inside of a graphic symbol in this project. If you're not familiar with embedded movie clip or graphic symbols, you may want to do some more research on them. This method can be a bit confusing and it can become very complex very fast. However, this method will allow you to build much more complex movement in many different situations. Start by going to Insert, New Symbol. Make sure the type is set to graphic, and let's name our symbol gr_walk_cycle and click on OK. Now notice the breadcrumb trail up here at the upper left corner of our interface, and it shows Scene 1 and then it shows our graphic walk cycle. We are now one level deep and we have an independent timeline available for this graphic symbol. Next, we will import our reference images. Go to File, Import, Import to Stage. Find the Photoshop file that we prepared the reference images in and open it. Now we can specify which layers we want to import into Flash. Make sure there's a check mark next to each pose, and then let's turn off the background if you have that one. Make sure Convert Layers To is set to Flash Layers, and then we can hit OK. You may need to zoom out a little to see it, but now each Photoshop layer has been imported into Flash and placed on its own layer inside of the graphic symbol that we created. We actually want to have each of our poses sequenced onto just one guide layer. Let's do that now. So let's deselect here, select just the keyframe on pose 2 frame 1, and let's drag and drop that to frame 5 down on the pose 1 layer. You can see that the keyframe on the pose 2 layer has went blank, and we've moved the contents of that down to layer 1. I'm going to repeat this process. So I'm going to take pose 3, I'm going to drag and drop it to frame 10, and pose 4, frame 15, and then just continue to repeat this until you get all of the keyframes down onto the original layer down here. It takes a little time. If you accidentally select something wrong, just try again. Once you get this done, pose 9 should be out here on frame number 40. Let's go ahead now and rename this original layer to Walk Cycle Guide. We can also come and select all of these layers that are now blank and delete those. We've now combined all of the poses down here on a Walk Cycle Guide layer, and I can scrub the timeline and see what that looks like. Now let's draw some guides that will help us once we start adding our own character artwork on top of our walk cycle reference. If they're not already showing, you'll need to show the rulers. Go to View and turn Rulers on. Place your cursor inside of the vertical ruler and drag out a vertical guide. I'm going to drop it right here on the center of the neck. And then I'm going to do the same thing from the horizontal ruler, and I'm going to draw the floor plane right down here at the bottom of the front foot. I'm going to repeat that process for the top of the head. Now the top of the head moves up and down, so I'm going to drag my cursor out here to frame 5 to the second pose, and I'm going to draw where the top of the head comes down to. And then I'm going to come back. At 10 it comes back up, and at 15 it's at its high point, and I'm going to draw a guide there as well. This will just help me as I add my artwork on top of this to line things up a little better. Now let's return to the main timeline and add the graphic symbol to the stage. Click on Scene 1 in the upper left corner of the interface. And I'm going to go to Fit and Window. Notice that nothing is actually on the stage at this time. We need to add our graphic symbol onto the stage. So let's drag and drop that out onto the stage. And I might want to go ahead and show rulers again. And I might want to add a guide here and a floor plan. I can always change those around if I need to later. But out here on the main stage, it's sort of nice to have those as well. Remember, the timeline inside of your graphic symbol is 40 frames long. But if we look at the main timeline here, we only have a single frame. So let's select frame 40 by clicking on it, and then right-click it and choose Insert Frame. Now our timeline is 40 frames long, which matches our embedded timeline. I can scrub. Since this is a graphic symbol, I can see the animation here. I can even test the movie. I can go to Control, Test Movie, Test, and I can watch that play through. You have now completed setting up your reference materials for building your walk cycle animation. Next, you will need to build your own character and use this reference to make your character walk.